have a successful justice, peace and reconciliation programme that we run in partnership with civil society organisations. And I mention the in partnership bit because it's really important in terms of the mutuality of the work that we do with the British Council. This is about making connections between the people and the institutions, building capacity, like we are today in terms of journalism.
I think the Media Workshop 2017 will have a great impact on people's careers, because one thing it does for you, apart from obviously the networking opportunities, is it gives you things you either didn't know about or perhaps you had not thought about in a certain way. If you came in here and you already knew a lot about digital media, you might have benefited from the child protection course. So I think the impact it will have is it opens you up to a new way of thinking.
First of all, I learned something new. And that was when it had to do with content optimization. We bloggers, we know about Google Trend, we know about alerts, we know about Twitter trends, but I learned like a new way to use them today.
The online media optimization was quite interesting because I'm in the online space, and then there are a lot of things that we may take for granted. If you want to now maybe do a story, it's possible for you to actually know what people are talking about, what people are doing, what people are saying, and then be able to actually provide the information that they need.
The man who doesn't understand what it means to live digitally now needs to go back to the 16th century. And this once again has thrown light to it that we need to get digital.
Is anybody here who is isolated from digital media? Is anybody? Is anybody? If it's affecting you, positive or negative, please can I see your hands? Why am I here? I'm here to talk to you about how you can optimize your content as a journalist so that you can reach today's readers.
The key learnings I got from this seminar is the first was from Mr. Langpe. We talked about personal branding. He gave an instance of Tiger Woods, who did not take so much cognizance of his background problems, which later came up in future. So I think for personal branding, you have to have integrity. Then you have to be conscious of, you have to do like a self-assessment.
One of the key things that I've learned today is how important it is, not just to brand yourself, but also how to tie in all those things, all that I do and all that I love for a better branding.
Branding is everything. A lot of persons don't understand that building your own personality is in your hands. And this seminar again opened us to read that integrity is very, very important.
I learned a lot about personal branding and how integrity plays a big role in that. I know it's difficult in journalism to avoid the brown envelope and all that. And I know that, it's a very fine line you have to cross, maintaining your integrity and then also trying to feed your family and trying to move forward in your career. So that I got a clear understanding of.
First and foremost, it opened my eyes to the opportunities there are in one branding oneself as a journalist, and to the fact that integrity pays a lot, and it may be very painful while you're trying to uphold those tenets, but in the end, you stand out.
How do you build a reputation for yourself? How do you possibly rebuild a reputation that might not be positive? So that's what we're going to be talking about, personal branding. And I will start by giving a definition of what Branding 101 is. Branding 101 is a deliberate or inadvertent process of creating a positioning, a perception in the minds of people.
That's been impactful. The discussion by Peter Okweche was really professional, talking about collaborations in the media space. It's very important that you give your career an objective. You should have where you want to go to, make progress.
The importance of doing things that will make people trust whatever comes from you, and make you be able to stand tall anytime, to be able to defend what you do. And important in all this is that character is key. It's not about faking it, but being real.
I find it strange sometimes when we've got a whole Africa service, BBC Africa, we've got Hausa, BBC Hausa, BBC Swahili, BBC Somali, whole range of languages, Great Lakes and all that. But then if a story breaks in Rwanda, for instance, they'll go and bring their special BBC Africa correspondent, who is a Briton, has probably been to Rwanda 3 or 4 times. Now, I've worked for the BBC in London for 14 years. Nobody has ever asked me to come and be a special expert on parliamentary issues in the UK, because it's not my story to tell. You've got enough people who are going to tell that story. So why are you getting other people to tell our story? I think it's because we are not putting ourselves in that space.
For me, I think EDI is going to help us as a nation because there's so much imbalance in the nation. There's so much imbalance when it comes to revenue allocation, when it comes to tribe, when it comes to religion, when it even comes to just being yourself. There's so many imbalance.
So the British Council have got 7 areas which we focus on. I mean, there's a whole lot more, but we focus on these 7 areas. The next one is disability. Now, there's a saying, disability is a club, yeah? If you live long enough, you join the club one day.
It was also nice to learn about child protection, just in terms of covering issues when it comes to children, and of course the 4 R's when it comes to child protection.
For me, child protection that was discussed here today is something that we should take to the next level. In fact, all of us must, as a matter of importance, begin to report on child protection.
Also, bullying is regarded as child abuse, and sometimes it's not only adult to children, it could also be children to children, which, for instance, bullying would fit right in, although that could also happen with adults.
But I'm also glad that I got the opportunity to be, informed about conflict-sensitive reporting, which is something I haven't really done, in a really long time. So it was important, but I felt that, they should have dwelt more on that, perhaps just have, more time for that.
When you're in the media, as you learn, you want to, see how it affects the audience that you're giving those information. And yes, this seminar, workshop, gathering has opened our eyes to the fact that it is a very wide audience, and the world is becoming a global village. And as you do things, it affects people in other places.
We don't really realize that we have this power to either keep a country in peace or destroy a nation by what we report. More people need to realize that we have powers in our hands that we can, if we're not careful, we can blow up a nation and stuff like that. So the impact is, I'm thinking of how to make it happen in my own office, and as well, we're going back online with the story, and we're going to push it out that hate speech, people need to be careful what they say, how they put out the news.
For you not to be in trouble, conduct your analysis in a way that will reduce and bring about peace. We are not saying don't talk about the story. That's not what we're saying. So my own responsibility is to take you through this conflict-sensitive communication so that at least you start thinking around it and making yourself better in a way that will also help the country.
I will want, the topic I will want you to introduce would be something to do with leadership. Because the issue that we have in this country, it has to do with the leadership. And then leadership is not something that we should be talking about only the people that are running this country. If the media practitioners can be actually imparted with the knowledge of what leadership is all about, it will be easier for them to report it. It will be easier for them to understand why the leaders are behaving the way they are.
What I would like from future courses, well, to be very honest, I think that a lot has been covered. I do think perhaps networking, I just like, the networking aspect in terms of knowing who's actually in the room and what they do, and just blending, okay, so who's print, who's digital, what can you do to work together?
We do appreciate the British Council doing this, and it would be nice to have more of this in the near future. the impact it will have, you're training a journalist, so you will see the quality and the impact of it in your news bulletins, you'll see it in your newspapers, and of course in your online news media.
I believe from now, whatever information I'm putting out there will be real, it will be more impactful, it will be more resourceful.